Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Son of a Blitch podcast. I'm your host, George Blitch. Man, y'all are in for a treat today. You're about to check out an interview I did with Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois. Jean-Paul was born and raised in Louisiana, and like many Louisianans, he was cooking and hunting at a very young age. He developed a love for the outdoors, which he talks about, which he further explored when he decided he wanted to be a professional cook. And he went and did the training and became a world-renowned chef. You've probably seen him on Good Morning America, Fox and Friends, Duck Camp Dinners, which season 1 and 2 are on YouTube for you guys to search out. And he just announced that season 3 is now being filmed. As I'm talking right now, Jean-Paul is traveling around Louisiana filming Duck Camp Dinner season 3. He's working with the Louisiana Board of Tourism and a bunch of other fine partners in this. I cannot wait. It'll probably be coming out in early 2024. So you guys make sure you mark that on the calendars whenever he's going to be announcing that, because it is going to be something you're going to want to tune into. Something a little bit different this year. It's going to be going all around Louisiana State. I cannot wait. If you need something in the meantime to satisfy that need, go check out Duck Camp Dinners. Go check out First Lite's Timber Tours. He's also been on MeatEater. And man, Jean-Paul is just an incredible guy. I had such a fun time chatting with him. We explored all sorts of different topics, and I just can't wait for you guys to dive in. So I'm going to bow out. You guys tune in. Here is my podcast with Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois. Hey, Jean-Paul, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, George. How about yourself?
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. I'm so excited we get to chat today. Man, I got a lot of questions for you. I think the best place to start is really finding out about where you grew up, how you got into your, hunting and cooking and just that exposure in the outdoor world. Who are some of maybe the people who are mentoring you and kind of guiding you through that, and maybe just kind of start at the genesis of that experience for you, if you will?
Man, I hope we have enough time in this podcast for that. Look, very simply, I'm from South Louisiana, and so the culinary thumbprint on that state is just so big and so diverse. It makes it really difficult to grow up in South Louisiana and not be connected to food. That's one. In the same way, it makes it very difficult to grow up in South Louisiana and not be connected to the outdoors, whether that's hunting, fishing, whether that's ducks or deer, or any of the things in between. And usually the culinary side of it, or the food side of it, and the outdoor side of it kind of run the same parallel paths. So, I think the short answer to your question is just being from South Louisiana put me in a lot of position to just love food and love the outdoors and not do them as a separate entity, if you will, but as one that kind of ran as parallel structures to each other that you always used for each other. For example, a lot of the cooking that I learned as a young boy, even before going to culinary school, was at hunting and fishing camps, right? Now, current day, the only reason why I go in the outdoors to hunt or fish is to cook, right? It's to cook those things. And so at one time in my life, one led me to the other, and now it leads me the other way, and it keeps kind of switching back and forth. And so I see, just from being from South Louisiana, I'm sure a lot of folks from Texas and Alaska and other places where there's huge, just very a long-standing history of being in the outdoors and hunting and fishing, and have these really cool culinary footprints as well. They can probably find a lot similar to what I'm saying right now. Just kind of growing up there really fed your curiosity, fed my curiosity, and just my kind of inquisitiveness to just keep learning more and keep walking down that path. But I didn't always call the outdoors a professional way of life. For the most part, it was in the culinary arts, and it was cooking in professional kitchens everywhere from beach bars to Michelin stars I've cooked in. So, and that goes from Louisiana, New York City, St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands, California, both in Napa Valley and San Francisco. And then eating all over the world in my travels has really helped me kind of what I consider, like if a painter has a palette of colors, it may only start with 8, but at the end of that painting, he has blotches of colors all over the place that he can use to kind of paint his picture. And in a lot of ways, I think a lot of chefs think of their creativity in that way. It's like, as a kid, we had 8 solid colors, like the 8 colors that come in a Crayola box.
Right.
As we grow older, and that never stops, those colors start blending. Those colors start becoming new colors and new shades and new hues. And that's how I cook. It's an ever-evolving thing. I'm 39 years old right now, and I certainly don't cook the same way as I did when I graduated culinary school in 2006. And I don't intend on stopping that progress until the Lord puts me in the dirt. So that's a huge part, being from South Louisiana, always being inoculated with food in my parents' kitchen and hunting and fishing camps, and then also being in the outdoors, being able to get to a boat ramp in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hunt, get back before school. My dad used to take me hunting, then he'd go in and try court cases as a lawyer at 9 o'clock in the court in a local courthouse right after duck hunting. So, and he was a guy that went 40, 45, 55 days out of the year, and there's 60 of them. So he was pretty serious about it, but we only had that access because of living in South Louisiana and having that proximity, having that easy resource to get out into the marsh, hunt birds, and get back and like start your quote-unquote normal day.
Right. Is this, did you have like a passion from a kid knowing that like this is something you kind of wanted to do as a profession, whether it's, making a living in the outdoor space or in that culinary world? When did you kind of have maybe that epiphany, or, was there a moment that you realized like, I can do this and this can be something that I can make a living at, and I can meld my passion with everything that I want to do and be able to have the paycheck involved as well?
Yeah, I think that came in basically 3 different buckets. And the first one came from a food side. And I was really good at cooking from a very young age and very curious about it from a very young age, from like my earliest memories from my dad cooking, then to when I was able to reach a stove and start cooking. And at the time when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I wasn't thinking like I want to be a chef.
Right.
But I always was good at it, and I was always the guy to do it at these different hunting camps in high school and college and so on. Once I reached college, I went to Nicholls State in Thibodaux, Louisiana, which is where I'm from, and the chef Jean-Paul Culinary Institute is there. I went into orientation went into the psychology classes, and I quickly realized, I was like, as much as the human mind really interests me, it's not where I'm just simple, not that smart. And I was like, but I'm pretty good at cooking. The culinary school was right there. I signed up. I changed my curriculum the day of orientation. I signed up for culinary school. I graduated top of my class, and that was the point at orientation. I was like, psychology, probably not that smart, but I am good at cooking, and that was that little turning point there. When the outdoors came, so all through high school and college, I spent time, a lot of duck hunting, a lot of fishing. But then when I moved outside Louisiana, I took hiatuses for a number of different reasons. One, I was a broke cook. I didn't know. The first place I moved from when I was out of culinary school was California in the Napa Valley. I didn't know anything about, of course, like it was such a huge new world living in the Napa Valley, straight out of Thibodaux, Louisiana, never living anywhere else. And then moving there, it was a culture shock in a very good way. And I was, my attention was so diverted to food and culinary that I kind of left the outdoors a little bit behind. I would come home to Louisiana and hunt and fish for a week at a time, 2 or 3 times a year. But I would never really do it there in California. Then I moved to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, lived there for 18 months. Went on a couple fishing trips, spent my time at the beach, drinking cervezas and, working at a beach bar. And then I came to New York. And again, that cycle continued. I'd always come back to Louisiana, hunt and fish, and that would be like basically the time off I would take from the kitchen.
Right.
Then finally, I started getting into more video work. I was on some Food Network things. I would do Good Morning America and live segments, CBS The Dish, Fox and Friends, and so on. I had taken media classes when I got promoted to my executive chef job because there was going to be so much media. Well, look at that raining out there. We needed that here in Texas.
Yeah, we did.
Huh?
We sure did.
There was so much a media emphasis around my job because it was New York and we were doing a big rebranding, and so they wanted me to take media classes, and so I did, and I was really good at it, and I liked it, and and so I started getting into more productions and starting getting interested, meeting more people in the production industry, in the entertainment and media industries, but really focused around food-centric productions there in New York, and I started just getting interested in it, and that's when I had this little epiphany when I was thinking about duck camp dinners. I had created a pilot already of a show that we're still trying to get onto an air somewhere. I'd been part of another pilot for a production around travel and food around the South that never got greenlit. And then finally, I was like, man, I'd always loved duck hunting since the time I was 7 years old, when my dad first took me, and we would go religiously during the season. That's really what that gave me the bug before I was 10 years old, right? And finally I said, man, you know what? There's this great duck camp that I love to go to, and it's the one that we shot all in season 1. We call it the Hobo Hut or Hobo Hilton. It's now graduating to Hoboville because there's multiple different camps now connected, or structures connected to make the camp. And I wanted to memorialize the place, and I knew it was a special place because we all thought it was that special. We all thought that it was just everybody, all of our friends always wants to go there, but you only have so many beds, so only so many people go. Luckily, I'm the chef, I'm the cook.
You got a spot.
I got a spot. I got a permanent spot. And so, but selfishly, I was like, man, I really want to memorialize this place. I got this weird fear about getting dementia or Alzheimer's at some point and losing all memory of all the things that I loved and people I love. And so I had this, I wanted to make this show that memorialized this place that we could always go back to, no matter if a hurricane wiped it out or, if we had some friends that went through some hard times, you could always come back to those videos. And that was really the genesis of why I wanted to make that show. Once we made it and I saw the reaction from people, and this is the second bucket. I was like, man, if I can make food and hunting my career, it's never a job.
Yeah.
That's never a job. And that's just something that I am fortunate enough to love to do and that can get paid to do.
Yeah.
And make these productions and do these different things. And I'll never work a day in my life if I could just cook for people and be in the outdoors. And so that was after that first season came out, I saw that we might have something, that there was this spark that said that people kept saying, man, thank you for creating a show that Louisianans can be proud in, because I think at that point there was no show that Louisianans could look like and see themselves in. And I'll leave those names out of like the mass market media shows, but you know what they are.
Yep.
And no Louisianan that I know like pointed at those shows and be like, that's us.
Yeah.
It's always been this caricature of us.
Right.
And so we want to, and that's what we made in Duck Camp Dinner season 1. And that's just from a pure, authentic, non-scripted, literally, we didn't know how many episodes we were going to do. At first we wanted them to be 8 minutes long. They ended up being anywhere from 16 minutes to 23 minutes long. In creating 6 episodes, we had no structure. We had no idea how to film it. It was me and Daniel Bagby. He was the cameraman. I said, dude, just film everything. We'll worry about it in the edit. We'll
fix it in post.
The idea was like the life cycle of the duck camp, which is why we started at the grocery store and we end at my parents' house cooking what we caught at the camp. And that was it, man. And people just, that was that second bucket that kind of spurred that enlightenment that like, man, like I could do this. I have I'm good at cooking on camera. I'm comfortable with it. I love being on camera. So like, some people aren't comfortable with admitting that. I am. Like, I'm good with that. I know that's a part of what the gift that God gave me, and it would be almost sinful of me not to acknowledge that, right? Just like he gave me the gift of cooking, he gave me the gift to be able to speak about it and kind of teach it from a visual and verbal way. So, and the other one would be travel, and travel in general is my other main like inspiration, right? And I'm a big believer that food can transport. It has these incredible transportive properties, not just to transport us back in time with something like, you know, your grandma's favorite, your pecan pie recipe for Thanksgiving, and transports you back there. It could also transport us into other countries and other places and other cultures. And, you know, that's why I travel. I search for that, so then I can come back home, recreate, and transport myself back into Morocco, into southern Vietnam, into Japan, into Mexico City, into Canada. You know, like, so. And I love travel in that way, and so that's my third bucket. And if I could ever, my goal is like to just connect those in a way to where no matter what I'm doing, I'm using the travel and outdoors and food experience and being able to tell that story through different people's eyes and different lenses. That would be what I think. You know, who knows? You know, that's the mountain I'm climbing now. If I can ever reach that peak, there'll probably be a bigger mountain in the distance. That I say, well, I should probably go climb that one. That one looks pretty good.
Yep.
And I think that's just the drive of me just wanting to create and wanting to, you know, be a part of new things. So.
Those good answers, man. I mean, I was very impressed when I watched Duck Camp Dinners. There's two seasons that are out now.
Yes, sir.
And then I guess if we can just give some, you know, maybe a little 1 minute snapshot for people who are wanting to know what that show is, because like people who aren't from the South and haven't gone through Louisiana, they might not understand what a duck camp is like. So if you can just give like the super quick overview, and then I'd like to talk about Duck Camp Dinners 3 and what's happening in that, because that's about to kick off here pretty soon.
That's right.
And if you can kind of go ahead and tell me about what's happening with that.
Yeah, Duck Camp Dinners is the life cycle duck camp through the food we eat and the people we share it with. And in South Louisiana, those people are typically your friends and your family, and the gathering place of most places in South Louisiana is the kitchen, whether that be your home kitchen or your hunting camp. And the show in season 1, 2, and 3 explores those duck camps, not necessarily through the eyes of being a duck hunter, but through the eyes of sharing a community of people who are interested in the same things: the culture of Louisiana, the food of Louisiana, the hunting of Louisiana, and just sharing that in this one central place of the duck camp. And season 1, 2, and 3, season 1 was just one duck camp. Season 2 was 3 or 4 duck camps, and then season 3 will be 7 duck camps, if not more, that really explores the culture of those duck camps through the food we eat and the people we share it with.
What do you see as like the difference between those 7? Is there going to be something like a variation of like, hey, this area, or just going to be like focusing on these different people? Or is it going to be maybe at this, we're going to focus maybe on, you know, ducks and maybe some fish. And on this one, we're maybe going to bring in, because like in one of those episodes, remember you guys roll up and you're hunting hogs right on the edge there, that kind of marsh. And I mean, there was the inclusion of that as well. So it's not that, you know, when you think about like maybe, you know, ducks, it's not just ducks. You have other things too. And there's deer all around that area. So there's a lot of different animals. And, you know, obviously there's some really great fish around there and too, and some other things in the ocean that you're cooking up. So is that something that you're going to kind of just paint broad strokes, or is there something that you kind of have focused on each one? Or again, is it kind of unscripted and you guys are just running at it and fix it in post?
It really is unscripted. We've done our best to say like, okay, here's the camps we're going to go to, here's the pursuits we're going to go after, but we know these are wild animals. This is wild weather. Things change, and we've become really adaptable to how those things change. Season 3, we've been lucky to partner with the Louisiana Office of Tourism, who's been a huge part of the funding for Season 3, which takes a lot of kind of weight off my shoulders to go and try to sell sponsorships and product sponsors and so on. And I think the reason why is Louisiana as a state, as a tourism board, saw the show as like, oh, wow, like this is a really unique way, authentic way of telling the story outside of New Orleans. Because almost 99% of people fly into New Orleans,
Sure.
And 99% of them stay inside of New Orleans. And our goal is to say, in a lot of ways, look at all the great things that are happening outside New Orleans. New Orleans, great city, great town, love the place.
Yeah.
But there's so much more that goes on. So we're going to be filming at 7 different locations throughout the whole state. In season 2, it was mostly just the Cajun coastline.
Right.
So the southern part, all the way from the east side all to the west side. This year, in season 3, it'll hit all 4 corners, plus some places in central. It will show a much more diverse hunting culture in terms of the hunt. Because there's wooded areas, there's marshy, there's rice, there's rivers, and so on and so forth. So there's that. And then to your point about second pursuits and third pursuits, we always like to have that. Obviously, it depends on the actual hunting season, what's in season. Feral hogs in season year-round.
Yep.
Red snapper, which we do on season 2, episode 5 or 6. That's in season. That was in season during a certain time that we were filming, so we went do that. And the goal is always to go to those camps and be like, honestly, guys, we just want to do what y'all do.
Yeah.
So y'all are going to set jug lines or trout lines or go hunt raccoons at night or squirrel hunt with dogs. That's what we want to do. We know we want a second pursuit. But what that is, we're game. And I don't care if we've done it before, because, again, the key is to just show that camp culture in a very authentic way, not script, and say, we're just here to follow along and to document.
Yeah.
And so when you go look back on this 20 years, you look at this episode and be like, I'm proud of that episode. I'm proud of what we did, and they did us right. And that's the goal of the show, is like, we want it to be something that every Louisianan, every person around – every Louisianan one and every camp owner can say, God, thank goodness I did that, because now I always have it, just like I felt around season 1.
Yeah.
Right? But also what we see over and over and over again is people from all around the world, George, that say, holy shit, I know this place. I know those people. I know that food. Because whether it's pheasant camps or mule deer camps or salmon camps down in South Argentina, they have a group of friends that go to a place, pursue something, cook, cut up, have fun, make fun of each other.
Yep.
We all have those places. Typically, I shouldn't say we all, but a lot of us have those places. Right. And no matter if you're a duck hunter or whatever, you see yourself in those shows. And that's only because we keep it 100, man. We don't. Yeah. It's just, other than where we're going to go and who we're hunting with and what we think we're going to hunt, everything else is, dude, just film the camp, film what happens, like film the jokes, beep out the curse words if we need to,
right.
Like be responsible, like not go in a boat and drive around with beers, right? Not go hunting. Yeah, we don't do that anyway, but It's like you want to be responsible in those things, but it's just, we just don't script it. We found that everything else is scripted, and everything, if you watch hunting shows now and a deer gets shot, it may have that kill shot, but that whole rise up like this, that's all after the fact for a lot of times. Like that's like, okay, now we need to get the shot.
Yeah.
Like there is none of that. There is no like second takes, except for when like I'm just so tired, I'm going through a recipe and I'm saying cauliflower instead of broccoli or something like that. Obviously I'm like, all right. And even so, sometimes we'll put those edits right in there because that's the case. Like we're all so tired after that hunt, whether you're filming it or not.
Sure. Long days.
We all have something to get made fun about. So,
but that's that authenticity, I feel like, plays so well because it is something that everyone can kind of see themselves in too. Who hasn't stayed up too late at camp, whether it's your hunting place, whatever, you're waking up early in the morning, you are tired. I mean, you're dragging ass and you're getting out there, but you're still doing it and you're still pursuing it. And yeah, you might say cauliflower instead of broccoli, but whatever, it's fun. Like you're honest about it and you're like, yeah, guys, I'm tired today. Yeah. Like it's been a long day. Well, yeah, it has. And I guess, I kind of wanted to ask more about, like, with season 3, where is this going to end up? Like, I know that, you can see right now season 1 and 2 on YouTube. Is it going to stay there? Is this something that you're going to have in some other, outdoor networks? What does that look like as far as like moving forward? And, are you going to be taking all of these duck camps duck camp dinners into a new spot?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, currently right now you can watch season 1 and 2 on the MeatEater YouTube channel. And it's had tremendous success there, and I'm really thankful for that partnership. We're moving on from the MeatEater YouTube channel Season 3 will premiere on Waypoint TV. It'll be on season 1 and 2 will also be on Waypoint TV starting later this year. For those who haven't seen it on YouTube channel, you can watch it on Waypoint. And the reason why I love this partnership with Waypoint, because of their distribution through multiple different subscription and streaming services that are highly, trafficked by folks, and so it just gives people a lot more access to watch it if you're not a big fan of watching it on your computer or YouTube. So really excited about that partnership, especially now that we can put all 3 episodes in one spot, all 3 seasons, in one spot. And they've been just really great partners thus far, and I don't see any reason for that to change. Really excited about that. We'll likely put Season 3 also on a YouTube channel, but the pressure is off at that point to put it on a YouTube channel, because Waypoint has such a great distribution model and great again traffic through all their partners, that we really feel like this is going to be our time to make a big splash. And so we're looking at Season 3 to be our best season ever. I kind of look at these, everything that I do is like, this is the last one I'm doing. You better go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just do not count. And that's just me just saying, like, I don't ever want to rest that there's going to be more of this.
Yeah, yeah.
If this is the last season, we're going to make it the best season. And if God willing, there's a season 4, then so be it. But season 3, as far as I'm concerned, there ain't going to be another season after this. And hopefully I'm proven wrong, honestly. I would love there to be a multi-deal, multi-million, multi-year contract or something, sure. But right now, just the grind, the hustle is real, and I'm looking at Season 3 to be the best ever, and I think Waypoint TV is the optimal place to put that on. And, I own everything, so I own all the media to it. I own all photography and video assets, and I will for Season 3 as well, and I own Season 1 and 2, so, we have the ability, as we're building that library, to do more stuff with it. So excited about that. Also excited, I'm wearing a Boss Shot Shells hat, and just a shout out to them, because they came in as with just like, I love disruptors, right? I'm a disruptive kind of guy by nature. I think Duck Camp Dinners is a disruptive show in the outdoor space and the culinary space combined. I don't think it fits any one mold, and I think that's why people respond to it. And I love Boss Shot Shells, and obviously great shells, and I've shot them for the last 2 seasons, even when they weren't a part of Duck Camp Dinners, but they've come in to be a significant partner in Duck Camp Dinners, and hopefully that's a long relationship that we can build as disruptors together.
How do you define them as disruptors? What was it about them that you felt like kind of felt familiar with that? Well,
I just feel like they going the direct-to-consumer route, doing the copper-plated bismuth, and offering business at a price that normal people can buy.
Right.
I mean, there's bismuth shells right now that are $70 a box.
Yeah.
Right. $700 a case.
Right.
That's a lot different from a Boss Shot shell that's copper plated bismuth that you can go direct to consumer. I never had a Boss Shot shell misfire on me or not shoot. Honestly, like the people, the culture of that company, as I've come to know the owners and the lead and the top players in it, which is very small, they're just good people. And it's people, I'm a big believer in this. My dad used to say this about my friends. He was like, Jean-Paul, you are who you hang out with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big believer in that. And it's the reason why I've made a lot of decisions in the past 2 weeks to a month. One to leave MeatEater, one to go to Waypoint TV, one to partner with Boss Shot Shells, Louisiana Office of Tourism, because honestly, you are who your friends are, and you're a reflection of the people you do business with.
Yep.
And I want my circles to be tight, aligned, and supportive of each other. And those 4 that I just mentioned there, between Boss, Louisiana Tourism, Waypoint, and then Duck Camp Dinners and Split Reed Media, who produce this show with me, they're just people that I want to be involved in, that I want to do business with, that are invited to my house, that that I can call on in times of need, and just to say Merry Christmas.
Sure.
That's the kind of people I want in my life. I think if you do business that way, maybe you won't make the most money, but you'll likely always be happy. And I feel like that's pretty darn valuable.
Hey, everybody. Just wanted to take a minute to tell you about Boss Shot Shells. If you guys have not checked them out yet, I highly suggest you go over to their website. Boss Shot Shells offers superior grade, American-made, copper-plated bismuth shot shells that are shipped directly to your door. As a pro 2A family-owned small business, Boss designs every shell for a specific purpose to deliver devastatingly lethal payloads at a price that won't break the bank. Backed by the best customer service in the industry and proudly manufactured at a small facility in Southwest Michigan, Boss stands for American innovation and old school conservation. Unleaded and unmuzzled, check them out at bossshotshells.com. Money doesn't buy you that happiness. It can definitely help you out with a lot of things, and obviously life can get expensive, but whenever you can say that you have your integrity, when you can be able to be your authentic self, you can be around people that are very similar and you can vibe with them. It's like you're going to have fun. You're going to have success because you're not going to have those regrets. And money doesn't fix the regrets, right? And you being able to say, I did this, I did it with these people that I like. We have this connectivity. We can build this thing together, whatever it builds to. And I like your idea too, that approach too, of like you're going all in on season 3 too, right? Because that also, not only does it, all those things we just talked about, that authenticity and that connectivity, but it also has that here and now. It's not like it's like the Rolling Stones, hey, we're going to have our farewell tour, the third one, but it's like the idea that you were really going in and you're saying, I'm here, I'm now, I'm present, I'm going all in, putting everything I get into this. And that's that grind mentality too, where you're like, I'm not leaving anything unsaid on here. And if you do that, it's going to speak for itself. A season 4 is likely going to come. More people are going to connect to it and they're going to want to be a part of it, or it'll grow to that. Like, I was kind of curious too, do you have plans to maybe work in other states and kind of be able to show that kind of microcosmic level per state or maybe per animals that are in that area? Because I could see, like, you did such a great job representing Louisiana and all those, the duck camps and all the outdoor, lifestyle things. And obviously to the credit of, everyone, following in and loving that, I always wondered if that's like something that you could see yourself expanding on in another area.
100%, George. I mean, this is Louisiana is my home. Obviously, I love the place. I'm invested in it from a very visceral point of view. I just want it to succeed, even though I don't live in Louisiana currently, right? I live in Texas, but I do a lot of work in Louisiana for that reason. I feel like that state gave me so much, right? So much culture, so much foundation of being the man I am today. I'll probably spend the rest of my life trying to repay it in ways like this, like just trying to get more people visiting there, more people hunting there, more people spending money there. Maybe I never live there, so I can't give back my taxes to it, but I can hopefully get more eyes on the state, and hopefully, like, we look at conservation and land loss and saltwater intrusion and hurricanes, environmental things that happen to that state. The more I can talk about that, the more money we can get appropriated to those things, whether that's state or federal levels. And so, it's nuanced the way I think about my relationship with Louisiana, but it all comes from a place of just wanting to see it succeed, more so than it has been before. Not saying it's never succeeded, quotes, but I just want that progress to continue to happen in that state. And if I can be a little part of that, then great. But to your point, Texas is a great example of a state that would be incredible to have a duck camp dinners season in, or another show that was tailored in a way that can go out to certain pursuits during certain seasons. I often talk about Texas, and it's that, other than Alaska, it may be the state that has the broadest spectrum, the biggest spectrum of pursuits that I know of.
Yeah.
Maybe I can be proven wrong. I'm sure I can.
Sure.
But from sandhill cranes in the north to fat trout down in Rockport to, even hunting elk in the Southwest to your black bucks, or I shouldn't say black bucks, but
the melanistic
deer down your way, and all the little, timber hunting in East Texas, there's
chupacabras, all of it. Yeah.
Then you're feral hogs, and
everything.
then you're axis deer, and then your whitetails, of course. Then you're, public and private, and high fence and low fence, and blah, blah. And it's just so much here to unravel and uncover. And I think that, honestly, I know that in a large part of the country, and I know this just from my past couple of years, that a lot of outdoorsmen look at Texas and be like, oh, that's just all high fenced mutation deer. They're all just farming those deer out. And although that certainly is a business and certainly does exist,
sure.
That certainly is a thing. There's just so much more. And to not talk about that or not even to like acknowledge that is actually pretty unfair.
Yeah.
And but it is it's an incredible state. I can certainly see even the duck camp dinners or a spinoff of a show like that happening here. The hardest thing, like I can get, like, I feel good about getting distribution anytime I want now on pretty big levels. I'm connected enough and have done it enough to feel like I can do that. Plus, I have some partners working with me on each coast that help me get into not just domestic, but international stuff, which I think is going to be big in this next year, especially for season 3, to be shown through all over the world. But it's always fun. It comes down to funding, and it's hard. You were attracted to duck camp dinners because we filmed it like it was a documentary.
Yeah.
We have multiple cameras. We try because we know that we're not going to take 2s and take 3s.
Right.
They need to get it or it's not getting, So, and then we really believe in a quality of filming, and getting people that really know their way around in production and in the post edit about coloring and sound syncing and so on and so forth. So there is very intentional. The reason why you watch that show and be like, oh, wow, it's really well done. It's because we put a lot of effort, and that means a lot of money into creating these shows, probably more so than any other thing on Pursuit Channel, outdoor, and so on and so forth. Like probably closer to even more than MeatEater in a lot of ways, the actual show. So, those things cost money, and I think that's the hardest. That's the hardest part. Is like, a lot of the brands that I like to work with for duck camp dinners are small Louisiana-based brands. So you can't go to them and ask for $50,000, $100,000.
Right.
But you also don't want to have 20, 30 product sponsors on a show where it feels like a commercial.
You're changing T-shirts every 3 minutes. Yeah.
And so you're just, we try. That's been the biggest challenge. We were blessed this season to have Louisiana Office of Tourism come in and say, we believe in it. It checks a lot of boxes for us from a tourism side, and we're able to create great assets for them, both photo and video. But it's the funding thing, and that don't anybody watching this, like, I love the show. I do it because I think it's fun. I love hunting. I love cooking. I love being with my friends, but it also is a job for me, and it's a business. Yeah. And so it's got to be a business, or else it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do it. I mean, I at least have to not lose money on it, right?
Sure.
So, anyways, funding's a huge part of it, and partners that believe in the show and that want to grow with the show is obviously a huge part of it. So, to answer your question, yes, I absolutely believe it. How we make it, that's going to be another subject,
What now? Watch you get all these calls, and you're going to be every single state wants. Okay, now you come over here. I could, but with that, having the Louisiana Board of Tourism behind you, I can't think of a better fit. And being able, and your new distribution network and things, it just sounds like everything is going in such a great way. And I can just see this kind of snowballing because it's such a great way to look at a state and really get a feel for everything of the people, of the food, of the culture, of the wildlife. And I do want to circle back to one thing. When you were talking about the idea of all the different ecological things you have to be aware of, do you feel as you're kind of, the status of you being a representation or a representative of Louisiana in that sense, it feels like you're bringing that, conservational aspect too, and that approach and that educational bit. And I've seen it in some of the other ones. Is that something in season 3 that you might be kind of putting a little bit more focus on? Hey, this area over here, this marsh is in danger because of X, Y, or Z. Do you feel like there's some responsibility on your shoulders to make sure that you are equally representing all those things and the perils too, and the attention that we have to focus on this so that we keep these resources? Is that something in your mindset?
Yeah, 100% almost all the time, almost every day, whether I'm filming or not, that's in my mind, especially as it pertains to Louisiana. And I'll give you a perfect example. This is in real time right now. We had to go, so I leave on Sunday to go shoot our first episode of season 3 in West Louisiana on a teal hunting. Basically, teal season right now, just opened today. And we're going to go film 4 days, and it's going to be our first teal episodes outside of big duck season, right? What correlates with teal season is alligator season, the only month out of the year that we can hunt them in Louisiana. And so there's going to be some of that too. There's going to be camps. But we had to, on the fly as of last week, had to completely switch locations, switch people that's going to be in camp, because they've been unprecedented marsh fires in Louisiana because of this drought.
Yeah.
And it is so dry that a lot of the places people are teal hunting today and will for the next 14 days are dried up and can't hunt them. You only can hunt teal if you have water access or access to pump water into your fields, which is mostly rice. And there was a big marsh fire that happened a mile away from where we had planned for months to hunt. It had destroyed all the electrical infrastructure for that camp. And so it won't have power for a long time. The owners are it's a camp where these 4 best friends kind of went in on this whole property and these 2 structures that make this camp. And so we were forced to find another location. Now, lucky enough for us, we were connected enough in Louisiana to kind of put some feelers out and get a new show, put a kind of new
last minute.
Yeah, last minute kind of thing. And it's all going to work out, and it's great, but we'll use that opportunity and actually mention that and actually kind of talk about that on the show, that, usually the conversation with Louisiana is having too much water, right? and water encroaching on solid land and fresh marsh, which is obviously still an issue with saltwater intrusion kind of killing freshwater grasses. But now we're talking about marsh fires, and whether it's marsh fires in the south or forest fires in the northwestern part of the state, which there's been, like, I was talking to my mom and my dad and some other folks that are, generations ahead of me about this, and they say never in their lifetime could they ever recall any type of wildfire happening in Louisiana. And this year we've had 5, 6 of them throughout the state, and one of them affected, these folks' property directly, this production of Duck Camp Dinner Season 3 directly, and we had to pivot. And it's those things that, yes, like in terms of conservation, in terms of habitat loss, and so on and so forth. I mean, shoot, we're in Katy, Texas right now.
Yeah.
We can talk about the Katy Prairies.
Yep.
For a lot too, and that type of habitat loss. In Louisiana, it's a little different because a lot of the habitat loss was uninhabitable anyway by humans, but highly habited by wildlife, which is now being threatened on all kind of different levels. And now we're seeing people's habitats being threatened by wildfires. And I'm not, usually too much water. Yeah. This year, for whatever reason, droughts everywhere from Texas, at least from, speaking firsthand from Texas to Louisiana. It's like, man, it's just dry. And so, those things are always on my mind. I remember in LA history class when I was 8th grade, we went from elementary to, my high school went from 8th to 12th. And 8th grade LA history class. And I remember Coach Art Nakan, he would say, I had this funny accent and so on. I'm not going to try to repeat it, but he would say, Louisiana loses every 15 minutes, Louisiana loses 100 yards of land. Now, that is correct, but also incorrect in the sense that it's actually losing more than that in a lot of places. And so because of saltwater intrusion, because of, different things. We've levied off the Mississippi River, which hasn't allowed that to overflow, replenish with silt, and get more hard land. We did that a long time ago, right? But there's all kind of other things associated with that. And so we've been all aware of this for a very long time, is my point, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. We're doing things now to make it better. We're making progress in places with literally pumping sand and silt through basically pipelines from one place to another to build it. But man, that is an extremely costly effort, especially when you're saying you're battling Mother Nature, which has no care about
unlimited funds.
about your she'll do what she wants.
Yes.
And so we can only do so much to battle that. But there's a lot of good people and a lot of smart people that are. My job is just to shine the light on it.
Yep.
And if I can get more people donating $5, $15, $100 to those causes, then great. Like I want that to happen. But it's a lot of really smart, scientists and engineers that are working on behalf of the state's coastal line and deltas and tributaries that are help building that up. There's always going to be a loser though. The oyster farmers, they're building up all kind of fresh water. Guess what doesn't grow in fresh water? Like oysters. So they got to move out. And so there's going to be somebody affected by it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hard to make everyone happy, right?
Yeah. But I'm glad that you're shining a light on that, and because it is something. I mean, every area has something. There are species that are going through problems wherever it may be, and we need to be able to kind of look at that and what kind of resources that we need to work with and bring people together to have that awareness. Because you want to be able to keep those wild places wild. You want to keep those animals there, and you want to be able to keep this lifestyle. Because there's been areas where historically, even in Texas, like where I hunt turkeys, they were wiped out. They were overhunted, and you had to reintroduce them because somebody took the effort to bring back these species to be native. So when you're like, oh, are these native turkeys? Well, kind of. They were coming from over here. But I mean, that happens a lot of different places because people want to bring back, the bison and the buffalo, right? There was areas that they were completely wiped out. Now they're there in certain spots, but they weren't there for X many years, 100 years, whatever it was, until someone made the decision, I want to bring back the original landscape or whatever. So I think that's very important for us to do in our native species and be aware of the invasive ones too and what we can do, because there are some everywhere. We talked about feral hogs, right? I mean, it's like
everywhere.
Everywhere. Used to be like they said, it's not if, or not when, it's if it or whatever, it's the other way around. But it's like they were going to be everywhere, and they are.
It seems like now it's when.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to hit that next county. I think they finally said it's like every county in Texas, because there was like one holdout that was like, no, I don't know. Did they build a wall? I don't know what they did, but they dug under. So now they're there.
Bunch of guys with ARs at night, just like anything.
We will defend this county. I kind of want to go to that camp for a day, see what that looks like.
That'd be interesting.
Some good eating, right?
Good characters.
Call up Jesse. Hey, man, let's cook some stuff. Hey everyone, just wanted to take a minute to tell you about my favorite Cajun seasoning out there. About 15 years ago, I was gifted with some Slap Your Mama seasoning, and there has not been a day since then that I have not had it in our kitchen, whether it's at the house or at the ranch. Heck, I've even sent this all around the country as gifts to friends. It is by far my favorite seasoning out there. So let me tell you a little bit about Slap Your Mama. Founded in 2001 by the Walkers, Slap Your Mama brings the soul of Louisiana cooking to life. It was there around the Walker family kitchen table, deep in the heart of Louisiana, that a family came together to capture the taste that they grew up loving, all with the goal to share it with future generations. Now today, the Slap Your Mama brand has evolved into a masterpiece of flavor with its new look and expanding line of products, ranging from original spices to fry batter, classic meal mixes, and more. And as a leading producer of authentic Cajun seasoning, they knew that they needed to branch out in new exciting avenues into the Southern cooking world, and they've done just that. You can check out their seasonings, their sauces, and in fact, you can even buy a cookbook that they put out as well, talking about what to do with all their amazing product lines. Guys, choose Slap Your Mama for your next meal and experience the magic of real home cooking. To learn more, go to slapyourmama.com today. You'll be glad you did. So I had a couple other questions, and one is admittedly self-serving. I'm going on my very first teal hunt next week, and I know that I'm going to be able to bring back a lot of meat, and I want to just ask you, because one of the things I do is I interview a lot of different chefs, every single wild game chefs every single fall, and give a little bit back to people who want to learn about, what to do. So if let's say I've knocked down, 5 teal, and I want to try to, cook this the best way to where my wife Meg and our daughters will love this. What would you suggest as far as preparation? What do you suggest is like, hey, this is the one that I like the best? Because I know we can go all over the board and all the different types of different ways we could do this, but let's go ahead and, give the listeners and me some ideas on what you would do. You got teal in the cooler. What are you doing then?
Yeah. So let's just set the table. It's September here in Texas. It's not cold,
yes,
right? And it may be 70 degrees, maybe if you're lucky in the morning. So the first thing during teal season, and you may get made fun of or looked at funny, but if you're really serious about wanting to make sure that is the best it can possibly be when it gets to your table, especially during teal season, that bird's going to go get retrieved. It's going to come back into the blind. The worst thing to do is just pile them up and let them sit in that blind like they're going to be there for an hour, 2 hours and thing. If you can, if you're willing to do this, at the very least, open up its chest cavity, its feathers, if you will. If you were going to breast a duck, get your thumbs in there and spread that out so it can start cooling. Right? And bring a little cooler with some ice packs in it and just put them in there. Even better, if you want to just gut them right out into the field, open up that chest cavity and reach in there and pull the guts out, then put them in that cooler, even better, because it's just even sitting in that hot pile, they won't go bad, but they're certainly not going to be the best they can be.
They're not going to go better, right?
They're not going to go better. That's a good point. That's a good way to put it. They're not going to go better like that. And one of the biggest things about wild game, and especially waterfowl, is that people say they taste irony or ducky and they can. And that a lot of the reason is because they haven't been treated correctly at the kill point. But especially when you're hunting warm weather environments, early season stuff like teal or early season goose, even worse, right? The bigger the cavity, bigger the animal, the more it's going to retain heat. Teal are little birds, not, maybe 3 times the size of a dove. So it'll get cooler faster, but still, when you're hunting 75, 80 degree weather, it's only going to get 75, 80 degrees. You know what I mean? So if you can bring a little soft cooler with some ice packs in it, even if you don't pull the guts out or spread them, put them on top of the ice. Start to get that cool down. That's your first step to getting the best possible you can at the table. Now, teal are synonymous with just being great eating birds. They're not as red, not deep as red like a mallard would be. So they're not as quote unquote ducky as some people will like it. And if you do that first part, you'll likely succeed in the rest because you've treated it so well. You can put them on a short little brine if especially for first time eaters. Just make a simple little saltwater solution, not too salty. Let a little bit of that osmosis happen and kind of pull some blood out, if you will. Again, especially if you're just doing a quick grill for the family, that might be a good way to introduce them slowly to that. I would say that's more important for bigger ducks or geese or something to do that. But for teal, again, not knowing your family's feeling towards all that, it could be helpful. I do this. So on the second season, the last episode, I make this apples and bacon and bourbon dish with speckled belly geese. And I make that at a lot of camps now, that duck dish, and people always tell me, oh, it's the best duck dish they've ever had. That's something my dad used to make a lot with all the birds that we shot, and I've kind of chefed it up just enough to make it my way, and it tends to really appeal to a lot of people. So I can shoot you over that kind of recipe.
Oh, yeah. Please.
Because I don't think we actually documented the word for word recipe on the show, but it's all there kind of in video format on that last episode of season 2. And it's when I light all that Pappy Van Winkle on fire, which I do that for the comment section, But,
what are you doing?
But that's a good one, especially because it's got this savory and sweet kind of ding to it. It's great for It's a great dish for new duck eaters because it's just it appeals to a lot of American palates, if you will. lot of bacon, a lot of onions, some sour apples in there, some good brown sugar and butter and bourbon in there, and it makes a gravy, and you can eat that over rice and with some vegetables, or just kind of pick at it like that. But really, like, again, like, those teal are going to eat great on the smoker or on the grill, especially if you take care of them in the field. And more so than ever during this teal season, which we'll be filming, which I'm going to do myself, like, yeah, which will be, it's even important for you if, like, you know, you just want that bird to be the best it can be at the table, then it matters what you do with it in the field. Absolutely. Like with any animal, right?
Yeah. But that's something that a lot of people don't. When I was talking to Jesse,
most people don't do that.
Yeah, I was talking to Jesse. He's like, okay, here's what you do: keep it dry. I mean, how many times do people just throw ice on the meat immediately? And it's like, no, it's like, okay, here's what you can do: contractor bag, something like. There's a lot of different things that I've talked to the different chefs about, and the preparation in the field, and that's where it starts. And a lot of people, they haven't maybe realized that it's going to affect it whether you take it to the process or where you do it home. And it's like there are some 101s that you have to do, and it's very important. So I was planning on grabbing a cooler and doing that exact same thing. So
I like the frozen packs of ice because they don't, you're not carrying around sloshy water and they're not getting wet. And I don't like putting things in contractor bags, especially if I got 12 birds in it, because that, ideally I have that, that square, soft Yeti cooler. I got 4 of those ice packs in it, and I'm leaving the top even up and just letting it breathe with whatever birds I have in there. And I'm at the very least getting that feather off that breast cavity and opening up that cavity and then throwing it on there and not worrying about like what blood gets on whatever, if you're going to pluck them or what, like it's just cool them down.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how good the hunting is too. If like you have the time to go ahead and cut them all in. Okay, just next.
Next. And certainly you'll have some lulls, right? And bang out a couple of them. But again, like just like having that cooler there with those ice packs, even if you're not going to do anything with the bird, to get them in that and not in the pile on the side of the blind. And Jesse talks about dove hunting, how he likes dove totes for that reason, right? Like hanging them from his things that allows air to get through those dove. And so you can bang out your limit, be an hour, and still, but having those totes just allow those birds to not be in a pile with fire ants and just steaming on top of each other. All those little things, which is why like duck straps are good. Yeah. But duck straps are really useful for that when it's 30, 40 degrees outside. Right? Like,
yeah, I mean, right now you can put them on your hip and they might cook. It's so hot out in the field.
I mean, like I said, like you're lucky if you get 70 degrees, and that's not lasting long. Yeah.
Well, look, I know we're going to wrap it up soon. I had 2 other questions. I've been talking to a lot of people about their legacy, right? And I wanted to ask you this, and kind of what is it that you want your legacy to be, professionally, personally? And, how do you see that? How do you see that shaping out and what you want to be remembered by? And it's not just like, when you're dead down, like right now, what you're putting down on the ground and what you're doing, what is it that you want to be able to leave behind for, like you said, documenting like your duck camp dinners and stuff too. It's like, if there was a time when you had to stop, what is it that you want to be remembered at? Give me your ideas on legacy.
Well, I mean, maybe because I'm a new dad, son being 19 months old, I want him to be proud of me. I want my family to be proud of me, both professionally and personally. And I know that's a very like overarching statement. But I feel like me just being myself, staying humble, working hard, doing things that I love to do, dumping everything that I have into those things, whether that be him or my family or my work. That's what I want my legacy to be. I want him to know, and everybody that I touch in my life, to know that whatever I did it with a tenacity, and I did it with a passion, and I did it because I love it. And that's not to say that I want them to like be in my eulogy to pat me on the back. It's me wanting them to have something like that they love as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what I want them to know, that it doesn't matter if you are a classical pianist and you're a musician, or you want to be the next Steve Rinella or Jim Shockey. Right. Like, make sure it is something or you want to change plumbing for your life or be an make sure it's something that you love to do. And I'm right now in my stage of my life doing something that I personally, professionally, emotionally love to do with every fiber in my body. And I hope everybody, not just my son, finds something like that if they haven't already, but especially my son. Whatever you're going to do, love it and dump your heart and soul into it.
You're the example that he's going to be seeing, and I think you're such a good example for that. And for wild game chef, for the outdoors, conservationist, like you're doing so much out there, and I just want to say thank you, so much personally to be able to see the example of someone who's living by integrity and by responsibility and really giving something out. And you are an example that people are looking up to, and you're having fun doing it, and it shows, and it's a proud heart moment, man, to be able to know people like you who are doing that. It inspires me. I know it inspires other people, and just thank you for being that, and thanks for sharing who you are authentically, man. It's very important to see, and I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for having me, man. And what episode will this be in?
This will be, let's see, I think we're looking at maybe 35 or 36.
All right. See, I'm on like that first third of many thousands of episodes down the road for you, I think. And I think I've watched a number of your episodes so far, and I feel really proud just to be invited on this. So thank you. So thank you for having me. And especially since we're just an hour apart from each other, we should, maybe it's not a podcast, but maybe it's a duck blind.
Or it's hunting at the ranch. Get your melanistic deer.
Yeah, man.
The turkeys are great in Central Texas, man. We'll call up Jesse. We'll go and do it up.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me, George.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, and one last thing. Where can people follow your adventures, your stories? I know you got your Instagram channel, your website. Let's just go ahead and throw those out there for anybody who wants to go ahead and follow your journey.
So most of my social media is happening on my Instagram, which is Chef Jean_Paul. That's JEAN_Paul. And like I said, season 1, 2, and 3 will all be on Waypoint TV. Season 1 and 2 coming later this year, and season 3 coming in roughly July of 2024 is what our goal is. The Delta Waterfowl Expo is in late July in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh,
how great is that?
That's awesome.
So our plan is we want to release some episodes before that and some after, have a nice big presence there, be able to shake hands with Louisianians and people from all over the duck hunting community there. So if you haven't been to the Delta Waterfowl Expo, I'd say definitely check it out. It's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana this year, and I just couldn't be more excited to have it in my home state and get to see all the people that have followed the show and followed my career. So if you're going to follow me on Instagram, you might as well follow me in real life and come say hello in July.
Absolutely. Well, I will be there, and this time I won't just be waving at you.
There you go. You need to carve that out for sure.
And for those who don't know, like I ended up being in Little Rock there this last year, and it just happened to be on our way up with my wife Meg and I and our youngest, and we just stayed there as like a little halfway point to Tennessee. And then I'm looking at all these people walking around. I was like, what's happening? My people are here. I was like, yeah, it's the Delta Waterfowl. I was like, oh yeah. Brent Reeves is like, are you going? I was like, I didn't know it was even here. And then I'm looking through it, I'm like, no way. Jean-Paul's there too. And so, but you were busy doing,
I was cooking
you
demos.
were cooking them up.
Yeah.
So we got to be in the same room and wave at each other for like 25 yards away. So now we're here full circle, and I will be there in Baton Rouge to support you and to check that out. And a great group of people at Delta Waterfowl.
Sure is.
So, hey man, thanks again. And looking forward to having you on again someday. We'll talk more about the next thing you got going.
Let's do it, George.
All
Thanks,
right,
man.
Cheers. Take care.